Welcome to the Better Than Success Q&A session for June 2nd, 2022. Working on a supermarket in West Philadelphia. Is this a supermarket you're going to be acquiring and you're going to be actually like running a supermarket? That's insane, especially in neighborhoods like West Philly. Okay. Oh, wow. So you're auctioning off the equipment and bringing new tenants in. Oh, wow. That's really dope. So you're actually helping with the disposition of a supermarket. It used to be a supermarket. Now you're getting the equipment up out of there, and you're going to be bringing a new tenant into that space. Interesting. I love it. I love it. You own it already, repositioning it. Okay, very cool. Very cool. And I'm just curious, just because every now and then you'll see supermarkets close down, but not often. 42,000 square feet. Holy cow, that is big. What was the primary reason that the supermarket tenant left, or maybe you asked them not to leave, or not to renew their lease? What was going on with them? Did they just relocate to a different spot? Was it not working out for that location? The demographics of the area changed. I'm always curious when I see something like that, like a supermarket doesn't make it, or maybe not so much a department store, because obviously we know that people are shopping more online for a lot of goods that you would typically go to department stores and malls for. But supermarkets, that's usually something that's still an in-person visit, even though more people are starting to buy online. They were targeting the wrong demographic. How about that? And so you decided not to renew it. It sounds like they were bringing the wrong kind of customers to your shopping center. Oh yeah, that'll do it. That'll absolutely do it. That's interesting. So they weren't getting foot traffic because they weren't doing a good job advertising to the people that lived in the neighborhood. And obviously, I'm sure your team had info on that. Your team had plenty of info on that, because that's obviously the demographic that you're using to market to new commercial tenants, right? Hey, we have retail space available, we have commercial space available. You want to come in and be a tenant because these are the people that live in the neighborhood. This is what they're looking for. This is what they're spending their money on. That's interesting. Okay. So what would be the ideal tenant for a space like that? 42,000 square feet. I mean, that's big. The only thing I could think of is maybe another supermarket, um, a department store, maybe, like a gym, like a Planet Fitness or something in there. That's a lot of square footage. 42K. Jeez Louise. Understood. Understood. Got to keep it in the wraps. I get it. But it's not going to be another supermarket. Okay. Yeah, maybe we should have you come in and be the guest. You could talk about how you're managing your commercial space. It sounds like you got a good amount of experience, and this isn't your first rodeo. That's very cool. I have a couple of friends who were in real estate sales that are actually moving over to the commercial side. They told me they're tired of working with residential buyers. You say you're too expensive. Respect. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I got a couple of people that I know that they're moving more to the commercial space with their real estate sales business. And I've met quite a few folks that do like leasing for commercial space as well in the past couple of years. It's a whole different monster, even though it's you're still running numbers. it's still real estate. It's a whole different monster, the things that you're looking at, right? Did you start off with residential real estate and move into commercial, or have you always been on the commercial side? Any questions about real estate investing? Hey, if you guys have any questions that I can answer about what's going on in residential lending, we're seeing a lot of movement. We might as well get into it. Started with commercial, then mixed in residential over time. Nice. I guess in some ways, residential feeds the commercial. Am I right? You know, if you're in a neighborhood where there's a lot of good residential tenants, or people are buying houses, moving to that neighborhood, those are going to be tenants for your or customers for your commercial tenants. If you own commercial real estate in the area, residential is more stable. That makes sense. I'm sure COVID was a humbling experience for a lot of our commercial landlords. I know our friend Ken with his group up in Germantown. They actually have an education program to teach local investors how to do forced appreciation for the residential real estate in neighborhoods where they're doing commercial real estate investing. It's actually a lovely thing because they're actually training people on how to create more customers for their commercial tenants in the areas where they own commercial real estate. So they're rolling that out in a couple of different neighborhoods in the city. Commercial is more bulk income. Yeah, that makes sense, Jay. And just as similar, I would imagine, higher financial barrier to entry to get in the game with commercial real estate, right? Large gains, meaning you'll see higher appreciation in the property values, Jay, with with residential real estate versus commercial real estate. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff we've seen in Philly, right? Year over year, double digit um, property value appreciation is a little bit crazy. Definitely not sustainable long term, but it's been a game changer for a lot of residential real estate investors and even homeowners. I've had clients that bought houses a few years later. They were able to tap into that equity, leverage that to buy another property, do some more investing, or use that to consolidate debt, maybe reduce their monthly debt service in their household so they can have better cash flow, increase their savings rate. So that's been a game changer for folks. I know everybody would like that to keep going up forever and ever, but that's not really feasible. But it's not a bad deal while it's happening, right? I love it. I love it. I think G's having a hard time connecting with us. If you guys have any questions about residential financing, we can get it popping. I know a thing or two about that. Do you see a slowdown in the residential sales market with the increase in interest rates? It's a really good question, DF. So I haven't seen on my end, just because I do a lot of purchase business. That's most of my loan clients are people that are buying properties to live in or even buying investment properties. If anything, I've probably seen that pick up a little bit. Um, but in general, is transaction volume down? Absolutely, because rates are up, right? Not as many people are eligible for a refinance. It just doesn't make financial sense, right? Especially if someone recently purchased a home or recently refinanced in the last 2 years, chances are they locked in a really great rate. So they're not turning around looking to drop their payment by doing another refinance. So that business is going away in large part. And there's some markets where you're going to see purchase activities falling off a bit because interest rates are up as well, because frankly, people are getting priced out of certain neighborhoods, um, or at least the people that would typically buy in those neighborhoods are getting priced out, maybe because they have less buying power and property values are still, going up. The lack of inventory you're starting to see is putting a serious crunch on sales prices. So that's definitely something that's affecting um, residential real estate. But in general, am I seeing like a dramatic slowdown? No, it's probably getting to the point where it's maybe a little less hectic in some of these neighborhoods where there was just zero inventory. The higher interest rates have cooled off, maybe some of these crazy situations where it's like, hey, you list a house, there's 20 offers within, 48 hours. Some neighborhoods, it's still happening crazily because there's just no inventory and there's such a backlog of buyers that want to go to those neighborhoods. One of my friends just closed on her house yesterday. We did her loan, and I know that she put her house on the market, her old home on the market about 3 months ago, 2.5, 3 months ago. That was able to close really quickly. Um, Actually, she was ended up moving up her closing date to give herself more time to find her new house for her and her son. But her initial property that she sold, I mean, I think she had several offers within the first couple of days and was able to get an offer accepted above asking. She ended up moving up her settlement date just so that she can get the proceeds sooner to start the house hunt for herself. And I'm seeing a lot of those same conversations happen. I have clients right now that are either listing properties or they've recently sold properties and they're ready to, get back out there and start looking for a new place. But then that's a double-edged sword, right? You take advantage of the seller's market as a seller. Now you're at the mercy of a seller's market as a buyer. When do you think it will be a buyer's market again? That's a really good question. I think in some ways, a true buyer's market, we may be a ways out from that in some of these areas locally, right? Philadelphia County, there's going to probably be a couple of neighborhoods where there's such a backlog of buyers that want to be in those areas. We may not be in the buyer's market for a couple of years, realistically. Um, but is it going to be less aggressive so it'll maybe feel more like a buyer's market? At this point, I feel like if you have a house hit the market and you don't have multiple offers within, the first couple of days, that's like as close as we've seen to a buyer's market in a while. So for a lot of people, that's going to be like, oh my gosh, the clouds have parted. And I've started to see that more clients are getting offers accepted for the first house that they find, as opposed to getting their feelings hurt several times, because that's always frustrating. I've seen people tap out, maybe sit out of the market for a while they wait for things to soften up a bit and then get back out there, because it's traumatic, right? You're like looking for a house to live in, you and your family. For a lot of times, the reason why people are looking to buy a new house is because their family's changing. Maybe their family's growing. I've had clients and friends who, they're like, hey, we need more space, literally, because there's more people. We need more space. Not just we would like to get a house, or we're tired of renting, or we've like literally outgrown the place that we're in, so we need more space. So I think that's happening right now, and people are going to feel that like right now. They're feeling that happening right now. They're like, hey, I actually have a shot. And now that we're officially in summer, um, I think that's a boon for people too, because there's more people who have maybe been sitting on houses that they were planning on selling, either because they were planning on relocating or they need more space themselves, or maybe they don't need more space. Maybe their um, housing needs have changed and they don't need as much space, right? You got kids graduating, moving out of the house. Maybe you're, downsizing from a 4 or 5 bedroom house to maybe you only need a 2 or 3 bedroom house. And so that 4 or 5 bedroom house that another family is looking for is now available. And that means different things for different people, right, in different areas. Some of these neighborhoods, there's not a lot of new construction going up because, frankly, the area is tapped out. They have as many houses as they can accommodate in a particular area. So now the only houses that are hitting the market are existing construction. So that's going to have an impact as well compared to maybe an area where it's a little bit more open. You have more undeveloped land. There's going to be more empty lots that are getting developed. There's some neighborhoods where that's just not feasible. So all types of fun stuff. I'm curious to see what some of our landlords are seeing out in the market. Are you having to adjust your rents up or down in reaction to what's going on in the residential retail rental market? Are you seeing that if you don't raise your hey Anthony, how you doing? Are you seeing that you either are under market rents, so you need to bump up the price, or you're overpriced? Maybe you were coming in hot, and tenants aren't getting super excited about paying what you're asking. First offer is the best offer. I'm a firm believer. People get big eyes and think they can get more for something, but it ends up falling through and getting lower offers. Yeah, there is something to be said about that. That's for sure. I feel like for some people, they get trapped in moments, right? When prices are going up because inventory is low, people think prices are going to go up forever. Obviously, we start seeing that prices are stabilizing or maybe declining a little bit in some of these neighborhoods. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, the sky's falling." All of these things are cyclical, right? So there's going to be scenarios where you're in a neighborhood where you're in a position of power, right, as a seller. You've got good inventory, people want to live there. There's not as many properties available on the market. Maybe your property's in better shape than some of the other properties that are available. You're going to look like like lunch, right? Everybody wants a bite, so now they're offering you whatever you ask for. Maybe you have multiple people coming in with offers. There's going to be other times where you got to know what's going on. I've had some situations where I've worked on loan transactions for someone buying a house where the property wasn't in great shape or it had serious deferred maintenance. And sometimes you get sellers that they're in love with, you know, the prices that they saw something that was new construction or a full gut rehab sold for in their neighborhood. And they're like, well, I think I should get that. It's like, your house isn't that house. You didn't make the investment into upgrading the property like the other person did. So as a result, what does that mean? You got to get done to get there. You either got to pull the property off the market, make those improvements so that it can comp out, or if you're selling it in as is condition, you have to be prepared that any reasonable person is going to want some consideration for any repairs that are needed to the property before they take over. Nobody wants to buy a property that's a project and pay top of the market prices for it. That's crazy. You have one or the other, right? They say they either want all the bells and whistles and they'll pay you a premium, or if there's going to be some deferred maintenance, then that needs to be accounted for in the sales price. So that's a big part of it, is folks just knowing where they're at. Part of that's, talking to a competent real estate agent who knows the market. They set proper expectations, right? There it goes. Everything sells. If it doesn't lower the price, price is generally the biggest factor. Absolutely. For the right price, everything will sell, right? You have houses that are selling that are in shell condition. You have houses that are selling that are tore up from the floor. They need a lot of work. You got to go through, gut it, make everything new, walls falling off, right? You have people buying lots, building houses and developing them from the ground up. So chances are, if you have a house listed for sale, or if you see a house listed for sale and it's not moving, someone else has probably already done the due diligence and realized, like, hey, this person's asking for an unreasonable number based on what the property needs, what other properties have sold for in the area. This just isn't a good price. I don't feel comfortable paying this price. And there's going to be situations where you, as a buyer, maybe you just don't have a stomach for paying the price that somebody else does, because either A, they have better resources, more resources financially, or they're just willing to overpay. You have situations like that too. I remember sitting in a talk that Alan Don did a few years ago. He was talking about some commercial properties that he overpaid for, and he said they were making fun of him in the news. Like, this guy's crazy. I can't believe he paid this for that building. And then he was talking about the opportunities for him to raise rents in the future on his commercial tenants. He said, yeah, when we got this one tenant, they were paying like a few $100,000 a year. He was like, everybody said I was crazy and that I overpaid for the building. He was like, they were probably right. He was like, but I was in love with the location. I knew that at some point that would, be an opportunity for us to increase the income from that property. And so just one tenant he had in a building, he goes, they went from paying a few $100,000 a year to, when it was time to renew their lease, they upped it. It was like close to $1 million a year for just one tenant in that building, because it was a primo location. That tenant could have said, hey, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore. We're not going to pay that price. But they knew it was worth it. And frankly, they've been getting a pretty plush deal for years with the old rents they were paying. So when they upped the rent by like literally triple, the tenant didn't even bat an eye. They signed a new lease, kept it moving. So he was able to triple his income off of just that one unit in the building, which is amazing, right? So those are some of the conversations too that you have to have with your real estate team, and know, which person are you in that situation, right? Are you the person that can afford to overpay because there's going to be an opportunity in the future for you to generate more income? Or you just have to eat it and say, hey, you know what? This person's got more capital than I do. They're able to stick it out through maybe the numbers not making sense for a couple of years. I can't afford to do that. Or maybe you can. This is why BRRRR investing is so valuable to people, because you're able to come in and pick up properties for, below market prices. So if you're picking up the property for pennies on the dollar, you're investing money into it to make improvements, you're going to create forced appreciation from that alone. You're not just banking on, hey, values are going to keep going up just because over time real estate goes up. You're forcing the appreciation in that property. So that's a major gain. Anthony, you got anything you're working on right now? Any questions you have? No, nothing yet? Okay. Whatever's on your spirit. We're talking real estate in the comments. Ooh. Okay, I just got the word. So our speaker is under the weather. Oh, that stinks. Understood. That stinks. I actually just got a message from one of my new friends earlier. She found out her husband got COVID. She's got the symptoms. I think there a lot of people are starting to get sick randomly. We're starting to move through the world again, going around stranger danger, and everybody's getting sick. It sounds like Najee got a little bit of that coming off the holiday weekend. That's how they get you. You expect interest rates to increase? They've been sliding up and down a few basis points here and there, Anthony. Um, Dang, everybody got COVID. Jeez Louise, everybody's getting COVID. I was gonna come back to Philly. I don't know now. You guys are scaring me. I can't get sick. I had COVID in January. That was no bueno. I was struggling to walk upstairs. That scared the heck out of me. Yeah, Anthony. I mean, do I expect them to increase a ton from where they're at now? I hope not. Jeez Louise, we can't take much more. In all seriousness, when rates swing wildly, that sticker shock does drop people out of the home buying market, at least temporarily, right? Which is like probably the worst thing that could happen because then somebody's like in the middle of looking for a house, then they see the rates went up and the cost of the payment that they were budgeting for is going up. That scares them out of it. Then by the time they get the courage to get back in there, well, guess what? Now prices are even higher in a market like this one. The cost of capital is even higher. So now they're just pushing themselves further and further out of the loop, right? Crushing their own buying power, limiting their options as to the properties they can go after. So hopefully we won't see prices or see rates continue to climb like they have been over the last, let's say, 6 to 9 months. But chances are we're probably going to end the year higher than where we're at right now, right? Like most lenders are like firmly in the fives for conventional loans. You know, I'm starting to see even for government loans like FHA and VA, most lenders are in the fives, which is, very different story from 2 years ago, right? Very, very different story from a year and a half ago. But that's just the nature of the beast. So as a buyer, what can you do? You know, have a budget that you're working with and stay within that budget. And hopefully you don't bite off more than you can chew. And I think also paying attention to, what is going on in the rental market too, as a home shopper, as someone who's looking to buy a house. I've had situations where I've talked to folks and they've asked me, like, hey, what will my payment be for this amount of house? And then I told them, they were like, oh, that seems like too much. And I was like, well, what are you paying for rent? They told me, I was like, all right, well, it's not that far off from what you're paying for rent. They're like, yeah. I was hoping my payment was going to go down. It's like, it doesn't normally work that way, right? So you have to have some perspective too. Normally, if you're renting, especially if you're not renting a house, right? If you're renting like an apartment, your rent's going to be lower at an apartment than it would be for your mortgage payment on a house. You have to be prepared for that. So I think part of it is to change that narrative. We were spoiled for a little bit when rates were artificially low, that people were, under the impression that it was normal that you could buy a house and your housing payment go down. That's not going to happen most of the time. Often, if you're renting and you go to buying a property, your housing payment is not going to go down. It's going to go up. But what are the benefits of you owning real estate? Well, in America, there are tax benefits for sure for owning real estate. It's also a form of forced savings for you. You make your monthly rent payments on time. At the end of the year or 2 years or 5 years, however long you live there, they say, all right, thanks for being a good tenant. If anybody asks, we'll tell them that you paid your rent on time. That's about it. You buy a house, you're making payments each month. You're paying down the principal balance in the loan. If you take out a loan to purchase it, you're building up equity every month, and you're able to reap whatever tax benefits that come from you owning that real estate. How do you encourage sellers to pivot as the market evolves? I don't have many conversations with sellers unless it's one of my clients who's selling a property with the intention to buy another one and they need to get a loan. But I think sellers need to be aware of what's going on too. You know, understand that the cost of borrowing money is increasing. So that's going to reduce the amount of qualified buyers for any properties that they may list for sale. So you're maybe not going to get the same bidding wars that you would have even a few months ago. Certainly not the same bidding wars that you maybe had last fall. I feel like that was when we were at a fever pitch where rates were still really, really, really aggressively low. And we were still having the same inventory issues that we're having now, right? Now the inventory is still a little bit tight in some areas, but the cost of capital is changing some people's tune. They're not maybe willing to overpay as much. It's just not financially feasible for them. I've seen price reductions on listings. Do you think that is a market correction or is it specific to motivated sellers? Could be a little bit of both, Keith. That's a good question. I think some sellers were shooting for the fences just to see what they can get away with, which there's nothing wrong with it, right? If you're selling a house, you have prerogatives to list it for sale for whatever you want to. However, you have to understand what that's going to do in the marketplace, how that's going to be received by potential buyers. So I think some sellers had to get their feelings hurt. Maybe they overlisted the house. Now they're seeing it. People aren't biting on the prices that they put out of their derriere, right? Because at the end of the day, if somebody's working with a competent buyer's agent, the buyer's agent's pulling comps as well to see if that's even a fair price that the seller is asking for. If there's other inventory available in the market where you're looking, and someone has a property that they just completely overpriced, your agent's not going to just let you jump out the window. They're like, hey, that's going to be a problem, especially if you're getting financing because they know that the property needs to appraise. So you can't just agree to pay whatever you want for the house. It's got to make sense based on the other properties that have sold in the area. But then I think also part of it is, you have some sellers that maybe they listed their property in the wintertime. Hey, you probably still got a couple, not a lot, but a couple of people that, in any given neighborhood, they might have listed their property back in the fall. And now they're saying, hey, my house didn't move, we need another price reduction. They're really trying to get up out of there. Maybe they're feeling the pressure a little bit more too if they're planning on relocating, right? One of my guilty pleasures is watching these real estate shows. Watching the real estate shows on like Bravo, right? I saw one episode where the real estate agent was talking to his client, and she was relocating out of state. She was like, "Look, I want to buy this house in another state," and he was like, "Cool, this is what we're going to list it for." It was like an obscene number. It was like $3 million or something like that, right? For like a single family home, but it's in an area that's expensive, right? She was selling her house in Los Angeles, and so she goes, "Hey, I think that's a great idea." He goes, "Yeah, this is what we're going to list it for because it's actually going to sell, and the property needs some improvements. So we're not going to sit here and have the house be on the market for a long time." She had a few offers that were submitted. None of them were at what she originally wanted, but they were fair offers because the property needed some work. And she goes, "What should I do?" He goes, "You need to take this offer." So, okay, I want to sell this house so I can get my new house. So her motivations were a little bit different, right? So that goes into it too. I've had situations where my client put in an offer and they weren't necessarily the highest offer, but it seemed like they had the cleanest transaction ahead of them compared to other offers in the house. And that's why they got the offer accepted. When you talk about how taxes could benefit those who own property, Be like, that's an excellent question to ask a tax accountant. But no, in all seriousness, there's certain expenses related to owning property that are tax deductible, right? Portion of your taxes that you pay for the property, mortgage interest. There's even been situations where if you like pay points when you're doing a purchase or refinance, part of that's tax deductible. So it's definitely a conversation to have with your tax professional. You have someone that prepares your taxes for you. But the tax code in America was set up to benefit business owners and property owners. So not everyone's going to own a business, but everyone's capable of owning property if you're, if you're working and you're intentional about it. You don't necessarily have to be a high income earner to own some real estate, even if it's just your primary residence. And then obviously, one of the things that we talk about in BTS is getting more than just your primary residence, getting some other properties, creating stable housing for others, and that could be a conduit for you to build some wealth for your family. So if you haven't sat down with a tax accountant who's in the know, you definitely want to have that conversation sooner than later of what the benefits are of owning real estate, how that can long term benefit you as a taxpayer in America. Because it is lovely. You get that 1099 INT at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. What else you got? This is wild. All the people I know have COVIDs. Our speaker got sick tonight. We're all busted up. It's okay. We're going to push through. This is just a blip. There's an ongoing debate about having one property per LLC. What are your thoughts? It's a good question, Keith. I mean, selfishly, for me as a loan professional, when we're collecting your documents, the less LLCs, the better. Um, it keeps things less complex when we're going through and preparing your documents to get you approved for financing if you're getting like a conventional loan. But that ends up for a lot of people coming down to a tax planning thing. Also, maybe estate planning. If you have a big family, maybe you're trying to set it up so that your family is able to get the properties if God forbid something happens to you. So I've seen situations where investors with the same size portfolio have completely different setups. I've had situations where people literally set up a brand new LLC for every single property they buy. I've had other situations where maybe they'll hold properties that are the same type, or they're just physically, close to one another together, or they'll have a holding company with a more complex structure that their accountant advised them on. So it just depends on personal preference. But I think there is some confusion for some people about whether or not you need an LLC to buy an investment property, or whether you have to put it. That's not necessarily a thing. A lot of people will do that for tax planning purposes or to provide themselves an extra level of protection in the case of if there was an incident that became litigious, which is reasonable. But you want to get insurance too, right? That insurance is going to cover you a lot more than that LLC will. And the challenge is if you are going to be setting up a bunch of different LLCs or business entities, you got to make sure that you're, having your I's dotted and your T's crossed, making sure that you're not piercing the corporate veil by commingling funds. Again, these are definite conversations that I have with clients when they're going through the loan process. Is if they have an entity set up, they're running income through, and then they're treating that entity like a personal savings or a personal checking. If there was ever a situation where someone sued you and they said, hey, I would cause the harm or it was a financial loss that was caused by something that happened on the premises of your business, right? They start doing some forensic accounting to go after your assets. You want to make sure that you have that separation. Because I've seen situations where people are treating their LLC bank accounts like it's their personal bank account, paying for personal expenses, everything else. So you definitely want to talk to your accountant again about how to move those funds around, how to segregate that money so that you don't have to deal with those issues. What is a series LLC? Are they important to have with multiple properties? I've heard of a series LLC. It's, again, not my bag. I don't form entities for folks. I get them the money so they can buy properties. That's a definite question that ask a serious tax professional, either CPA, EA, maybe both, right? CPA, certified public accountant, EA, enrolled agent. This is somebody that has that designation from the IRS. They know the rules and regulations. They can advise you on what makes the most sense. I've seen talk about series LLCs, though, in different groups that I've been in for real estate investors online. I think it has more to do with taxation than anything when you talk about a series LLC. I very rarely come across somebody saying that they have a series LLC when I'm working with investors to get their financing, even investors that own multiple LLCs. So that's a really good question, Joyce, but I am not the professional for you on that one. Love it. I love it. Any other questions about financing? I'm happy to answer those. I have some friends I could probably put you guys in the right direction if you need a referral for an accountant, real estate attorney. You got a couple of those folks, especially if you're local to Philadelphia. I got plenty of people in my network there because that's where I do a lot of my loan business. Yep, yep. Any more questions? No more questions for me? Well, hot diggity dog. Well, while we're here, we might as well talk about Better Than Success. So, for those of you who don't know, Better Than Success is one of the biggest real estate clubs in Philadelphia. Yeah, shoot me an email, Joyce, marc@marc.loans. Just let me know what you need a referral for. I'm happy to point you in the right direction if it's somebody that I have in my Rolodex. marc@marc.loans. Yep. So if you're not already a BTS member, Better Than Success member, I highly recommend you check us out. If you go to betterthansuccess.com/BTSREL, again, that's betterthansuccess.com/BTSREL. So that stands for Better Than Success Real Estate League. You can use the discount code MARC, and you get a 30-day trial for $1. Not a bad deal. What do you get as part of the access for BTS? Well, you get access to our weekly masterminds. We record those. So for those of you who can't make it live, you're able to still plug in and soak up all of the game from our speakers that come on. You also get exclusive access to any Better Than Success events. You're going to get first access, and there's always a discount offered to our BTS members. You get access to our archives for all of our past masterminds that we've had. At this point, we do a weekly mastermind on Wednesdays. It's BTS members only. And we do a weekly Q&A on Thursdays. We also have on Tuesdays our deal hunting hour, which is a major key. On Mondays and Wednesdays, we have group coaching and accountability calls. Again, when we talk about surrounding yourself with people that are going in the same direction you are, there's an opportunity for you to Surround yourself with folks that are running in the same direction as you. And then on Saturdays, we typically have our workshops or our trainings. So if we're doing a advanced class like Nicole and Julia just had their, I believe it was the 9th cohort of the um, intermediate construction management class, right? Those are for the people that either are already GCs and they're, trying to learn how to effectively manage their projects, or they're planning on becoming GCs, and so they're doing this as part of their prep work to get ready to be a project manager, because construction management and finance are the keys to success for you as a real estate investor. Those events are always on Saturdays. I know this Saturday coming up, we have an event with Watson and one of our other BTS members, Margaret, where they're going to be talking about wholesaling. That's hosted by Watson. That's going to be really cool. So these are opportunities for you to pick up extra skills in a specialized area when it comes to real estate investing, adding extra tools to your toolbox. You have access to all of this as a BTS member. And most importantly, you got access to the group chat. You're on the BTS members newsletter list. So you're getting game every week in your inbox. And you have access to plug into the group chat. So if there's any resources that you need, you're able to go into the group chat, set up a flare, say help. If there's a challenge that you're facing in your real estate investing business, you have literally hundreds of other people that are either going through that, have gone through that, maybe going through it in the future. So you're able to compress time frames and learn from other people's mistakes, look over their shoulder. Their resources become your resources. So that's pretty cool. I've had tons of members reach out to me through the group chat, ask me questions about finance. I've had people in the group that have come to me to get financing. It's one of the few places that I check on a regular basis outside of my emails that I'm in every day for my clients. Any questions you guys have about joining BTS, again, betterthansuccess.com/BTSREL. You use the code MARC. You can join for 30 days for $1. Major kid. We're hoping you'll get in there, find your people, and stay for a while. As we get more resources into the group, it just becomes more valuable, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. That is a steal, DF. You're right. Seen some of these groups where seems like they're more concerned about selling you on coaching than they are with you actually doing deals, right? Anytime you see a class in BTS, any of the advanced classes, things that we're opening up where there's going to be an extra cost on top of your BTS membership, it's just because someone else is coming in and putting time and energy into running that class or contributing to that class. So they got to be compensated fairly, right? But you're not going to see any $30,000 or $50,000 coaching upsells. It's not that type of energy. We want you to come in and do deals, grow as an investor, get bigger, hopefully bring opportunities to other members in the group that are service providers. Like I said, I've met tons of clients through BTS. One of those things that I love, the fact that we're able to, be a value add for each other in the group, help each other's businesses grow. We have other service providers in the group that, are real estate agents. I don't know if we have any active title companies in the group right now, but I know we have in the past. We got notaries. We got people that have contracting businesses, people that have property management businesses. All types of businesses. Heck, maybe you're not doing anything real estate related for your core business. Maybe you have a restaurant or catering business. Oh, real estate people like to eat just as much as the next person. So that could be an opportunity for you to meet um, people that are other centers of influence. The opportunity to build your rep, and expand your influence, just by saying, "Hey, support my business. I make good food. Pull up." And we got some attorneys. Yep. We got some politicians actually. Yep. So by all means, if you have not dipped your whole foot in, you've been putting your pinky toe in, get your whole foot in there, get both feet wet. Go ahead, hop into betterthansuccess.com/BTSREL. Use the code MARC to join BTS. I hope to see you all on the other side, and we'll be sure to let everyone know when we can get Najee back on, when he's feeling much better. Unfortunately, he caught a bug. Like a lot of people are catching bugs. The weather's changing. We're out doing more mixing and mingling. Folks are getting sick, unfortunately, but we'll get him on here to be a goodness, a contributor to the group, and share what he's doing and how he's helping his clients out. I'll talk to you all very soon. Have a great evening, BTS and guests.